How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. I heard you majored in computer science.
Yes, I did major in computer science. Initially, I wanted to do electronics engineering, but when it came to choosing a field of specialization, computer science was really hot at the time, and it included what I needed to do in electronics, so I went with it.
Hmm. So it was the trend for people to actually go for computer science rather than pick engineering.
No, it wasn't the trend at the time, but it was a new field and it had a lot to offer. It uh, it was basically still new in the market, and it had a lot to offer. There was a lot of room to for discovery and contribution. That's why I went. That's why I went with it instead of electronics, which is pretty much figured out.
So which campus was that? Which university?
Kenyatta University.
Oh, so you'll say you are the pioneers, or were you the predecessors or to the pioneers or something to do with that?
Yeah, we were pretty much on the newer side of the course was pretty new when I joined up to the university. They were still figuring out some of the aspects of it. So I would say we were kind of pioneers.
Kind of pioneers, but there are those hurdles that come with pioneering something. Will you say that you encountered several challenges along the way?
Yes, we had quite a bit of challenges in the department. The field was new, and I think they were just scrambled. There was a bit of scrambling to accommodate us.
Wow.
However, it wasn't a bad thing. It was actually a good thing.
Are there any regrets to say that you are to pursue engineering? Now that engineering nowadays, I hear there's so much capacity and intake compared to these other courses.
Yeah, I've also figured there is a in the field of engineering there is this new field of robotics. It's pretty hot right now. However, that very field is still pretty much in the computer science space.
Hmm.
So we are still privy to the new developments. We are not missing out at all.
But the thing with the computer science, you have to keep on learning. It's like a lifelong process. So you'll say like maybe once you learn, whatever you learned is not current because you must keep up updating your knowledge base.
Yes, true. When you finish your computer science degree and go into the field, you figure that just about everything you've learned in school is just a baseline of what you need to know. It's not really the knowledge that will carry you forward in your career. So computer science is a dynamic field, and it's part of the appeal of why I have no regrets moving into that field. I get to experience new things throughout the journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the buzzwords to do with computer science, you hear AI, machine language. Were you privy to such knowledge back in the days?
That was actually my specialty when I was finishing out my graduate degree. I specialized in artificial intelligence, so I'm pretty much familiar and cognizant with all those aspects that you hear these days of neural networks and such. It's not new to us, it's only new to the masses. Yeah.
So what might have triggered that? The current knowledge among the people. Could you say maybe it has to do with timing and the
it's not timing, it's the new developments, the new breakthroughs in the market. Tools such as ChatGPT have really come into the forefront of the users, the users have gotten a chance to interact with the new technology, and it has spurred the hype. But this is nothing new. It has been in the field. It has just been mostly in the background. AI has been with us for as long as you can imagine, almost for as long as computers have been around. It's just the level of that AI that has stepped up a notch and has caught the public eye in doing so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there's no regret whatever to do with because when someone here you are to be an engineer, an electronic engineer, and now you majored in computer science, they might be like, you might be having some regrets or something to do with thinking maybe if you were headed this way, you might have been better off than the current steps that you made. Is there any regret?
Actually, about electronics engineering, the reason why I was eyeing that field was because of my dad. My dad was a physics teacher, but he had wanted to do engineering, electronics engineering. He was unable to get into that specific field. However, he inspired me to aspire to get into it. So I was able to, I did have a chance to get into it, but when I looked at it from my own perspective, I realized that I needed something that has not been explored fully, my own thing. So I went for computer science. Yeah, it's not something that I would say I would regret. If I were to go back, I think I would still do the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
So speaking of your dad, maybe you can talk of maybe parenting had something to do with your passion for computer science.
Absolutely.
Okay.
My dad was pretty handy with electronics. He would fix just about everything, despite not necessarily being an engineer. He was a teacher, but he had a knack for fixing electronics and solving problems. So I really admired that, and I wanted to be able to do a similar thing of solving problems in the electronic space.
Okay, so we can say it's something that was inherent in you to head that way.
Yeah, I suppose we could say that.
Wow, wonderful. So currently, what are you involved in after school? What did you decide to do?
During my graduate degree, I came into falling in love with user support. I like solving problems for people, and user support puts you in the crosshairs between people and their technology. So you are always solving a problem for a person. That's the appeal of it, and that's where I'm at.
But with the current knowledge base, given the ChatGPTs and all these, access to knowledge is so at a fingertip, someone's fingertip. Will you say that it might challenge your problem solving skills? Somebody might say, I have a problem. I might go to the online platform, ChatGPT, Google it out, and then have the product, then solve my own personal problem at a go.
Yes, it actually improves our provisioning of. It does improve our provisioning of the solutions to clients. In the past, you'd have to solve every little bit of issue with every client. But if the client has access to this knowledge and the capacity to solve it for themselves, it actually improves your value provisioning, because you are able to focus on the bigger problems and solve issues that a client wouldn't be able to solve for themselves. So this is actually a good thing. It's a net positive for us. Yeah.
So with that knowledge being there, it's a positive aspect. It's
Yes.
like a competitive edge.
Yeah, it actually also improves The technology actually improves our provisioning. We are able to provide higher quality service or quicker solutions because of it.
Okay, but when we talk of technology, to some aspect, to some extent, you find like when we reason it out, we think it limits the interaction between people and between human beings, that social aspect. So while providing the services, you as a person, how will you ensure that the human element in your service provision is not interfered with? How do you carry out your services to ensure that at least there is that human aspect to your...
The most important aspect of our service provisioning is active listening. The part about the aspect of listening to our client when they are presenting their problem will mostly be a human element involved. We are not looking to displace that aspect. Also to empathize with the user in order to understand their problem or their frustration. This is solely, as of yet, it's for now it's solely a human provisioned service. This is not something that could be automated. So in those aspects, it's a full human experience.
Even with robotics, they can't come and replace you guys.
Robotics can help in execution. They would also help in automation of essentially the execution bit of it. But the listening part, this is still a human thing. The empathizing, yeah, these are human aspects.
Wow. So okay, because in most cases you find like with the introduction of computers, human interaction are so limited. Frustration between a human being with machine is heightened to an extent that if you are to solve the problem for the client, they might not even really feel it or feel like it has helped them, because there's something that the machine actually got rid of in them, the human aspect, the interaction, like seeing the problem not just as fixing the problem, but also seeing it as a human aspect, that social aspect, the empathy, empathizing with them, because whatever happened to the computer, whatever happened, whatever thing that they were doing, the IT thing problem was introduced because of a human aspect. It is human. It might have been a human error that led to that. So in most cases, I think like machines and human beings, problems are not just about fixing, but it goes a long way. It extends beyond fixing the problem, but interacting with the client, just as you explained. That's interesting. So would you say like what sets you apart then? Because I heard you have a website or something. How do people contact you?
We do have a website. We also have a presence in social media platforms. Those are ways to get in touch with us.
Or you say, maybe I don't know, I'm listening but I don't know. So will you give like, okay, I had the Jujari.com or something?
The Jujari.com is our website. If you search for the Jujari, you'll find us on social media as well.
That name is interesting. Where did you get that from?
That's a trade secret.
You can give us a leak of it, just a little bit to appetize us.
The Jujari is a strive for perfection in evolution. That's where that name stems from.
Wow.
Yeah.
It has that feel of being resolute and determined and resilience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful.
It's like the ultimate state of existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what IT services do you actually offer on the Jujari Technologies?
We do offer our primary service provisioning is remote desktop support. We also offer IT administration. This is managing users in the organization. We also offer software deployments and hardware diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll say with all these services that you offer, you are able to. How are you able to handle all these services at a go? Are you like have you? How many people do you have under you? How are you organized in the Jujari.com, your organization, and the response time to the client's need?
Some of our services are mostly done in a scheduled fashion, like hardware maintenance is usually scheduled. It's not a daily activity. Others are done during onboarding process, which we also schedule for. We are a team. We also have a few contractors for where the job calls for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you say like now that you have people under you, like how is the managing thing coming about? Because you majored in computer science and you are the founder. How do you handle all these aspects?
Most of the team is also in my field of study.
Okay.
So yeah, we are engineers. We speak the same language. Yet to have any issues doing management because we speak the same language.
Okay. Are there some technologies and platforms that you specialize in?
Yes, most of our clients are on the Windows platform, so that's I would say that's our major specialty. However, we also support the Mac OS endpoints and the Linux server environment.
Wow.
Yeah.
But handling all these within the Kenyan space, the market space, and the corporate world, I think it might present some challenges. How do you handle some compliance issues within the Kenyan space?
We do have certifications in the ITEL management, which has all the compliance and regulatory requirements checked. So we adhere to the standards, and also based on the client's requirements, we also adhere to those standards.
Does what of the Kenyan laws, the available Kenyan laws to do with the Kenya Data Act? Are you like familiar with that? How do you organize it around the organization and ensure the compliance with the act?
Our data compliance is compliant with the Kenyan laws. The Kenyan laws are actually adopted from the international standards of data protection, which fall in line with what we have. Yeah.
So, if I'm a client calling you to handle my sensitive data, I won't have to worry that maybe it will be late or there will be mishandling.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Confidentiality is such a big issue nowadays, to an extent that most people don't understand it, and some are ignorant of the data that they receive and the data that is in possession. So how will you say that you manage that, the confidentiality aspect? Say I've called you to the organization and then I live with all the servers and the computers to maintain. How will you ensure that?
We do have, in the security space, we do have systems that track all the activity that a computer is engaged in. All the data is tracked and logged. So once you have that system in place, you should be able to track exactly what has happened with your files and how your files have been accessed. So you should have a pretty clear track record of how your files have been handled by us or by your internal employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. And to do with the IT support, I hear there's so much autonomy on your side as computer engineers, and that you might find that a client calls you for a service and doesn't know anything to do with whatever the problem is. Like they have to trust you that
Yes.
whatever you're telling them is true. Like you guys and doctors just are in the same autonomy space.
Yes.
So we just have to trust you guys.
Yes, absolutely.
Even if I have a problem with the idea of calling an IT specialist and he fixes the problem within 2 seconds, and then they tell me the charge is $30. Like,
The reason for having your problem fixed so quickly or readily is because of our expertise. Once you've specialized in a specific field, a specific niche, you understand the problems that come up. You've dealt with the similar problem or the same problem, either that or you know exactly the cause of this specific problem. So you go straight to fixing the specific problem in order to save your client time and resource.
well, that might be so, but someone will argue like these IT guys, I don't trust them because it's like they're always fishing for something. They might say, okay, you don't have an antivirus, you don't have this. Do you have like how will you address that issue? Because some will come and say that you are overcharging, or you have, how is your pricing strategy?
Pricing is based on the value that is offered to the client. If someone is talking about overcharging, they probably do not see the value of your service, and they are definitely not your client. Your client is looking for value for your services provided.
But I'll argue, as a client, I'll argue the value is just on getting my item back to functional space. So once that is taken care of and sorted, I can see you as being valuable. And the charge, I might say, okay, this is the amount that I have. Will you be willing to go into that? Or in other words, what I think I'm trying to put across is that the IT guys and the autonomy that you guys have, it's like you have some hidden charges.
We do have some platforms where we can list the services and the charges for those services. There's also a lot of material on the internet which express exactly how much it would cost you to solve a specific problem.
Okay.
So when I write you an invoice, I would indicate exactly which problem I solved for you. So when you look up the problem, you'd be able to figure out this problem costs this much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some of the prices are like there's a fixed cost too.
Yes, some services have a fixed price. Others are contingent on the specific. For IT, there are some symptoms which are similar, but the cause of the issue might be different. So it's based on which specific issue caused the problem. Yeah, that's what will determine the price of the charge.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's one hot topic out there. And they're always complaining, the IT guys. The IT
Yeah.
guy did this. The IT guy overcharged me.
There is also an issue of someone who might present as an IT professional, but they are not actually a professional. They are not a specialized expert in that specific field. They just happen to know a few tips and tricks. Yeah. So if you run into such a person and you brand everyone as a scrupulous IT guy, I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah. So what are some of the, say like you mentioned some of the platform and technologies that you use. Say like I'm calling you for a remote support and I'm somewhere else. What technologies will you advise me to have in place for you to help me out, sort me out? Nowadays that you find most people want the remote support so much. Like, what technologies will you advise a client to actually have pre-installed for your support?
There are a number of remote desktop support technologies, but you don't necessarily need to have them pre-installed to get the service. Once you call in for the service, an engineer will be able to walk you through the steps. It's just a few steps of getting your environment ready for remote support.
Okay.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to burden yourself with the knowledge of exactly which specific tool to use.
Okay.
That's our bit.
So a computer dummy can be led through, walked through the experience along the way as you teach them and guide them to solve their problem.
Yes, you can guide a beginner through solving a problem. If someone has a certain level of competency, you don't even necessarily need to log into their environment in order to support them. You can just do that remotely by instructing them on how to resolve an issue.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What are some of the organizations that you've worked with? Because I've heard you guys have worked with a number of organizations out here.
Yeah, we've worked with a number of organizations. Some are security companies, others are in the oil business. Yeah.
So, like, can you tell us some of the things that you have to do for, what are you going to do with an oil company? Somebody might argue.
An oil company is a company just like any other. They do have their process, they have the ERPs, they do have their administrative environments. So, like for example, in an oil company, we provided administration, IT administration to manage the users.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for a company out there, startup company that might want to venture out in your field, to get to a space where you guys are operating, what are some of the things that you'll tell them? The phases of growth, and to the extent that they can be an organization that take care of other people needs, just the way you are.
The best thing to do is to start small. You take on one client at a time. During the onboarding process, it can be intense to onboard a client and get them to a space where they are comfortable and you can smoothly manage the environment. So you start small and you go one client at a time as you grow.
Okay, so for a startup, you might tell them to go one step at a time, deal with one client at a time as they grow, not just to go straight to the corporate space.
Yes, it would be better to have the individuals first in order to learn the art of supporting users, because once you get a corporate client, they might have a huge number of users and you need to do a great deal of support for the users, at least on the initial stages. If you have that figured out, if you have nailed down the model, it will be smoother for you.
Oh, that's wonderful. So are there some, I know you mentioned some of the challenges along the way as we were conversing, such as pricing and the perception of the customers out there and clients. So what are some of the other challenges that you've met along the way in your 9 years experience?
The major challenge is just the sales bit. There's also finding the right talent for your team. It could be very challenging to find exactly the right talent. So this might stifle your growth if you're not careful in selecting the right talent. Yeah.
But what about the knowledge aspect? Have you encountered scenarios whereby it's out of the scope of your understanding the problem? It's out of the scope of your understanding, and how did you address that?
if you get into a situation where you have a specific need from a client that you are unable to address, you find the right you find the right consultant for that specific niche.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I heard you guys are also consultant.
Yes.
Wow. So people call you for consultancy services.
Yes, they do.
Wow. Okay.
We do a lot of consulting.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is the first step into onboarding a client.
Wow. Do you guys actually grapple with things to do with regulations in the Kenyan market? I hear that there's not much regulation within the Kenyan IT space.
Yeah, the IT space itself is still new in the country. The regulations are the usual company-based policies. Yeah.
And because of the engineering aspect, while in school, you guys are told that you are under the school of engineers, the engineering and science and engineering and technology, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So, while there's some registration, do you actually register for the engineering board? You have to have that registration.
We are not under the engineering board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need to register with engineering.
Oh, that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
Because while in school you are under this, but out here you are segmented.
I think in school it was about just trying to fit us somewhere because the field was still very new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What are some of the takeaways that you can actually tell us from your experience and all these jobs that you've been doing along the way? Has your life changed from the aspect of IT support, and what are some of the things that you can take away that computers and humans, should we be worried that computers are coming to edge us out of some roles? And you as an IT support, can you what's your take about that, computers and human being? Nowadays we hear of these theories of where there is a rivalry between computers and humans. Should we be worried?
On a personal level, I think I found support to be incredibly fulfilling. To be able to provide to be able to bring people with their technology closer together in order to maximize their productivity is a very fulfilling job, I would say. Or it's almost like a calling. When it comes to people being afraid of being displaced by technology, I think that is just misplaced. It's like saying that electricity will take your job because it will provide so much power to do the work. It will just make you do other things. It's not actually putting you out of a job, it's pushing you to do something better or something more productive or something more profound. I think that's my take. Advancement in technology enables you to do more profound things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Are there some of the things that you can tell to organizations out there who are struggling with IT services and challenges, problem? I hear that some companies, whenever they have a problem, they'll rather stuff the things in a store, computers in a store, stuff anything, any problem is just shoved over the shelf and then they move on. What will be your recommendation to such customers, organization and clients who tend to look at problems and just put them away? Will you have something to tell them as we close?
I think it's important to find the right people for your team, and also people who are conversant with the things you are handling. if you find the right people for your organization, they will be able to provide incredible value and reduce waste, and also take your organization to the next level. Technology is not meant to stifle your development. It's actually meant to enable you to move further ahead. So when you find someone to take care of your technology will take care of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's different. What will take care of you? Technology will take care of me.
Yes, that's what it's meant for. Technology is meant to work for you. You're not meant to work for your technology.
Oh, that's a nice parting shot. Okay, it's nice catching up with you, and I hope that you will keep on scaling. I hope to see you on greater grounds moving forward. So bye for now.
Thank you.